Night draped the suburban street in a heavy, suffocating hush, the kind that makes every creak of a house feel like a whisper from the unknown. I parked my car precisely at 6:30 p.m., the engine's hum fading into the stillness of a Thursday evening. The house before me stood unassuming, its windows glowing faintly, promising warmth. But something about the way the shadows clung to its edges made my skin prickle, as if the night itself was watching. I'd been a babysitter for years, weaving through countless homes, each with its own rhythm. This job felt routine: a date night for Jay's parents, a concert downtown, 5 to 6 hours with their 10-year-old son. I stepped onto the porch, my breath catching as the door opened before I could knock. Jay's parents greeted me, their smiles tight, their voices clipped. They introduced me to Jay, a wiry boy with bright eyes and a grin that promised chatter. "He loves video games," his mother said, her hand lingering on his shoulder. They left in a rush, their car vanishing into the dusk, leaving me with a vague unease I couldn't place. Jay was a whirlwind of energy, dragging me to the living room to show off his gaming console. His laughter filled the room as he navigated pixelated worlds, narrating every move. I sank into the couch, letting his enthusiasm wash over me. But I remembered another night, years ago, babysitting a girl who'd sworn she saw a face in her window. I'd laughed it off, but her fear had lingered, a seed of doubt that never quite left me. For 2 hours, Jay played and I watched, the house's quiet hum lulling me into a false sense of security. Hunger tugged at me around 8:30. "Keep playing, Jay," I called, heading to the kitchen. The fluorescent light buzzed faintly as I rummaged through the fridge, piecing together a quick meal. 5 minutes, maybe less, and I returned to the living room. But the air had shifted, heavy with an unspoken weight. Jay sat rigid, his controller forgotten in his lap. His eyes darted to me, then away, his chatter replaced by a silence that felt alive, oppressive. "You okay, buddy?" I asked, my voice too bright. He nodded barely, his gaze fixed on the floor. I tried to coax him back, tossing out questions about his game, but he shrank into himself, his responses monosyllabic. What had changed? Had I missed something in those fleeting minutes? I replayed the night, searching for a misstep but found none. His sudden shyness gnawed at me, a puzzle with no edges. By 9:30, I declared bedtime, hoping routine would reset the night. Jay dragged his feet, brushing his teeth with exaggerated slowness, avoiding my eyes. I tucked him in, his room a typical boy's haven. Posters, toys, a faint glow from a nightlight. "Sleep tight," I said, but his tense nod lingered as I closed the door. Downstairs, I sank onto the couch, the house's silence pressing against me. Why was Jay so scared? I traced the night's events, each moment looping in my mind, a trance of doubt and dread. Had I done something? Said something? The kitchen moment haunted me, 5 minutes alone and he'd transformed. I shook my head, trying to dismiss the unease when a sound snapped me upright. Footsteps, soft but deliberate, echoed from upstairs. My heart lurched. "Jay?" I crept up the stairs, each step amplifying the pulse in my ears. The hallway stretched before me, dim and endless, the air thick with anticipation. Jay's door was ajar, a sliver of light spilling out. I pushed it open, expecting to find him wandering, but he sat upright in bed, his eyes wide, fixed on me. "Jay, what are you doing?" I asked, forcing calm. He didn't answer, his face pale, trembling. He's terrified. Of me? Of something else? As I turned to leave, he mumbled, "Bathroom." I nodded, stepping aside, but my eyes caught on his. Toys scattered, posters curling at the edges, and then a glint, a flicker in the closet's crack. My breath caught. An eye stared back, unblinking, human. Time froze, the world narrowing to that single malevolent gaze. "Run, get Jay now." I backed out, closing the door, my hands shaking. The house felt alive, its walls closing in, every shadow a threat. "Jay, come on," I whispered as he emerged. From the bathroom, my voice urgent. I grabbed his hand, pulling him downstairs out to my car. The night air bit at my skin as I dialed 911, my eyes locked on the house. Who was he? How long had he been there? Jay sat silent, his fear mirroring. No. When the police arrived, they stormed inside, emerging with a man in his 30s, his face twisted in defiance. "I'm Jay's friend," he claimed, his voice oily, wrong. The parents returned, their faces unreadable, brushing me off with hurried thanks. They know something. They're hiding it. As I drove away, Jay's haunted eyes burned in my memory. And the man's voice echoed, "Jay, let me in." What did he mean? The house faded in my rear view, but its shadows clung to me, a nightmare woven into reality, whispering truths I'd never unravel. Imagine a house at the edge of your town. Its windows dark, its silence heavier than the night itself. You step inside, expecting warmth, but the air feels wrong, like it's watching you. That's where I stood, 16 years old, clutching a babysitting job I thought would be my escape from a boring summer. At 16, I was desperate for something to call my own. My parents, strict as ever, had pushed me to find work, just as they'd done with my older brother when he turned 16. He'd settled for scanning barcodes at a tech shop, but I wanted something different, something alive. Babysitting felt perfect. I loved my younger cousins, their laughter, their messy drawings. So, when a local company posted an ad, I applied without a second thought. The interview was oddly brief, more like a chat over coffee than a job screening. They snapped a few photos, had me write a bio, and plastered it on their website. I felt like a product on display, but I was thrilled. Weeks dragged by with no bookings, though. My parents preached patience, but I was already scrolling job boards again when a notification lit up my phone. A full night and morning gig, Saturday, watching a 4-year-old girl. The thought of spending the night in a stranger's house sent a shiver through me, but I pushed it down. This was my chance. Saturday night, 10 p.m., I pulled up to the address. The house loomed at the end of a quiet street, its faded paint blending into the shadows. The porch light flickered, casting jagged shapes on the steps. I knocked, and the door creaked open to reveal a man in his late 50s, his smile too wide, his eyes too sharp. He introduced himself as the dad, ushering me inside with a wave. The air was stale, like the house hadn't been aired out in years. He led me to the kitchen where a single bulb buzzed overhead and motioned for me to sit. For 25 minutes he asked about my life, my school, my hobbies, my dreams. His questions felt like probes digging deeper than any parent should care to know. I shifted in my seat, the wooden chair creaking under me, wondering why he hadn't mentioned his daughter yet. Finally, I asked, "Where's your daughter?" His smile faltered just for a second before he said she was upstairs, asleep, and I wouldn't need to check on her until morning. Then abruptly, he stood, announced he had to leave, and handed me a key. "I'll be back by 11 a.m., he said, and vanished into the night. The front door closed with a thud, leaving me alone in a house that felt too big, too empty. I stood, frozen, the key cold in my palm, wondering if I'd just stepped into a dream I couldn't wake from. I wandered the ground floor, trying to shake the unease curling in my chest. I'd forgotten to ask where I'd sleep or if there was food. Questions any seasoned babysitter would have nailed. The living room was sparse, with a sagging couch and a coffee table scarred with rings. No toys, no crayons, no sippy cups. A 4-year-old lives here, I told myself. But where's the proof? I opened drawers, expecting stuffed animals or puzzles, but found only dust and a few pens. The kitchen was worse. The fridge held a half-empty milk carton and a stick of butter. The cabinets offered stale crackers and a jar of pickles. No juice boxes, no Cheerios. My heart thumped louder, each empty shelf whispering that something was wrong. I decided to text the dad in the morning about food, but for now, I needed rest. I grabbed a blanket from a closet, its musty smell clinging to my skin, and curled up on the couch. I turned off the lights, plunging the room into a darkness that felt alive. For 2 hours I lay there, eyes tracing the ceiling, unable to sleep. The house was too quiet. No hum of a fridge, no creak of settling wood. It was as if the walls were holding their breath. And then, at 1 a.m., a sound sliced through the silence. A faint metallic scrape from the far side of the house. I sat, up, my pulse hammering in my ears. The room was still, but the air felt heavier, like someone had stepped into it. I strained to listen, telling myself it was nothing, just the house shifting. But then, another sound, the slow, deliberate slide of a door opening. My breath caught, my body screaming to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I crept to the hallway, each step a battle against the fear clawing at my chest. The back door stood at the end, and there, framed in moonlight, was the dad. His back was to me, his movements careful, as if he didn't want to be heard. He wasn't supposed to be here. He was gone. Why was he back? For a split second I stood paralyzed, my mind racing to piece together the truth. No daughter, no toys. A man who asked too many questions and left me alone in a house that felt like a trap. This wasn't a babysitting job. This was something else. Something wrong. He turned, his eyes locking onto mine, and the smile was gone, replaced by a look that made my blood run cold. "Stop!" he shouted, his voice sharp as a blade, but I was already running. My sneakers slapped against the floor, the front door my only thought. His footsteps thundered behind me, closer, louder, his yells filling the house. I fumbled with the lock, my hand shaking, and threw the door open. Cold air hit my face as I sprinted to my car, his fists pounding on the window as I slammed the wall key into the ignition. I peeled out of the driveway, tires screeching, my heart a drumbeat in my chest. The rearview mirror showed him standing in the road, his silhouette shrinking but no less menacing. I drove until the house was a memory, until my hands stopped trembling on the wheel. But the fear didn't leave. It clung to me, heavy as the blanket I'd left behind. I didn't tell anyone at first. I was terrified I'd done something wrong, that I'd failed as a babysitter. A month later, I confessed to my parents, my voice shaking as I recounted the night. They were furious, not at me, but at the man, at the company that sent me there. They said I should have reported it, but it was too late. The company had no record of the booking, no trace of the man. There was no daughter. There never was. Still see that house in my dreams, its empty rooms stretching into shadows. I hear his footsteps, feel his eyes on me. I escaped, but part of me is still there, trapped in a night that felt like a nightmare but was all too real. What did he want? What would have happened if I hadn't run? Those questions haunt me, and I know they always will. The clock ticks past 5, and my house feels like a hollow shell, too quiet, too still. I'm pacing the living room, my 6-year-old son curled up on the couch, his eyes heavy from a long day. I should be at a meeting downtown, shaking hands, sealing deals. Instead, I'm trapped here, tethered to a promise I made to keep him safe. The babysitter I trusted, the one I've used for months, isn't available tonight. Desperation led me to a website, to a stranger's smiling profile. His name is Ben, a 17-year-old with a clean-cut photo and a 5-star rating. I booked him for 4:30, But the minutes are bleeding away and he's nowhere to be found. The air in the house feels thick, like it's holding its breath. My son yawns, clutching his stuffed dinosaur, oblivious to the knot tightening in my chest. I check. My phone again, no messages, no missed calls. The website said Ben was reliable, but reliable people don't vanish when a mother's counting on them. I glance out the window, the streetlights casting long, skeletal shadows across the driveway. What if he's lost? What if he's not coming? My mind drifts to a memory, years ago, when I was a teenager myself, stranded on a dark road after a friend's car broke down. The way the night seemed to watch me, waiting. I shake it off, but the unease lingers, curling around me like smoke. At 4:45, I call the agency. The operator's voice is clipped, professional. Ben clocked in at 4:30, she says, as if that solves everything. He's there, ma'am. My stomach lurches. There. Where? I peer out the window again, scanning the empty street. The operator apologizes, cancels the booking, and tells me no one else is available. My plans dissolve like ash. I hang up, my fingers trembling, and turn to my son. Looks like it's just us tonight, buddy, I say, forcing a smile. He grins, unaware of the storm brewing inside me. We settle in for dinner, the TV flickering with some cartoon, but my eyes keep darting to the windows, to the darkness pressing against the glass. Then it happens. A sharp knock shatters the quiet, slicing through the cartoon's cheerful music. My heart stumbles. I pause the TV, the room plunging into a heavy silence. My son looks at me, curious, but I motion for him to stay put. I creep to the front door, my bare feet cold against the hardwood. Through the peephole, I see a figure, a young man, maybe 17, standing on the porch. His car is parked crookedly in the driveway, headlights still on, cutting through the night like knives. "Hi, I'm Ben," he says when I open the door, his voice too casual, too bright. I stare at him, my frustration boiling over. "You're over 2 hours late," I snap, my tone sharper than I intend. His smile falters, but he shrugs, mumbling an excuse about traffic. Something about his eyes, too still, too focused, makes my skin prickle. I tell him to leave, closing the door in his face, my heart pounding against my ribs. I return to the couch, sinking beside my son, but the unease doesn't fade. The cartoon resumes, its colors too vivid, its sounds too loud. I try to focus, but my gaze keeps drifting to the window. He's gone, right? I stand, drawn to the blinds, and peek through. My breath catches. Ben's car is still there, a hulking shadow in the driveway. The headlights are off now, but the vehicle hasn't moved. Why hasn't he left? My pulse quickens, a cold sweat creeping down my spine. I return to the door, pressing my eye to the peephole. The porch is dark, empty, or so I think. Then, at the very bottom of the lens, I see him. Ben is pressed against the door, his body unnaturally still like a predator listening for prey. His face is inches from the wood, his breath fogging the glass. My knees buckle, but I can't look away. His presence feels like a weight, crushing the air from the room. Run, hide, protect. The commands pulse through me, primal and urgent. My son's voice breaks the spell, small and worried. "Mommy, what's wrong?" I whirl around, my face a mask of calm I don't feel. "Go to your room, sweetie," I whisper, my voice trembling. "Lock the door." He hesitates but obeys, his footsteps fading down the hall. I grab my phone, my fingers fumbling as I dial 911. The operator's voice is a lifeline, but before I can explain, Ben knocks again, harder this time. The doorknob rattles, a low, deliberate sound that claws at my nerves. I back away, my eyes locked on the door. The knocking stops, but I hear him move, his footsteps circling to a window. I rush to check the locks, my hands shaking so badly I nearly drop the phone. The window creaks as if he's testing it, prying at the frame. He's trying to get in. I retreat to my son's room, locking us inside. The darkness feels alive, pulsing with every sound from outside. My son clings to me, his dinosaur pressed against his chest. I whisper reassurances, but my voice cracks, betraying my fear. Minutes crawl by, each one an eternity. Then sirens pierce the night, sharp and glorious. I peer through the blinds, my heart leaping as red and blue lights flood the street. Ben is in his car now, waving at the officers, his face a mask of innocence. He spins a story. I'm crazy, he was just late, but I show the police the confirmation email, the proof he was hours late. His lies crumble and they take him away. The house is quiet again, but it's not the same. I sit on the couch, my son asleep in my arms, his breathing soft against my shoulder. The peephole looms in my mind, a tiny window to a nightmare I narrowly escaped. What if I'd left him with Ben? What was he planning? The questions haunt me, weaving through my thoughts like ghosts. I think of that night years ago, stranded on that dark road, the way the shadows seemed to breathe. Tonight, they did more than breathe. They knocked. And I'll never trust a stranger's smile again. The neon lights of the Des Plaines grocery store flickered, casting jagged shadows across empty aisles, as if the night itself was holding its breath. I stood behind the counter, the hum of fluorescent bulbs my only company, when my phone buzzed with a news alert. Riots tearing through Chicago, stores looted, employees attacked. 30 miles away, it felt distant, unreal. But the way the darkness pressed against the store's glass doors made my stomach twist, a whisper of something wrong. I was 20, juggling college and closing shifts at this suburban outpost, a place where nothing ever happened. The store smelled of bleach and stale bread, its shelves a maze of familiarity. Closing meant restocking, cleaning, and locking up by 10 p.m. But that evening, around 4 p.m., my co-workers huddled over their phones, voices low. "They're smashing windows downtown," one said, showing me grainy footage of crowds and flames. I shrugged, but a memory stirred. A night years ago, walking home alone, hearing footsteps that stopped when I did. I'd run, heart pounding, never knowing if it was real. By 6 p.m., the news grew darker. Riots swelled, thousands strong, spilling toward the suburbs. My co-workers' whispers turned to panic. Some left early, their aprons abandoned. Our manager, calm man with tired eyes, didn't stop them. "Go if you need to," he said. I stayed, needing the hours, convincing myself Des Plaines was too quiet for trouble. But what if it isn't? The thought looped, a trance of doubt as I stalked. Canned goods, my eyes darting to the windows. At 8 p.m., the store felt hollow, customers scarce. I worked an aisle near the back, the air heavy with the scent of cardboard and dust. A shout outside broke the silence, sharp and raw. I froze, cans slipping from my hands. Through the windows, shapes moved, people running, their faces blurred by the store's glare. Are they coming here? My pulse quickened. Before I could move, the intercom crackled. My manager's voice urgent. "Lock down. Now. Back of the store." Instinct kicked in. I sprinted toward the rear, joining a stream of employees and customers, their faces pale, eyes wide. We poured into the refrigerated room, a cavern of cold steel and plastic flaps used for deli meats and produce. My manager ushered us in, his hands steady but his voice tight. "Stay quiet," he said, sealing the heavy door. The room was a tomb, its chill seeping into my bones, the air thick with fear. 30, maybe 40 of us crammed inside, strangers and co-workers, our breaths visible in the dim light. Stay calm, stay alive. The cold numbed my fingers, but my mind raced. What's out there? We sat in silence, the only sound our shallow breathing. Then a crash echoed from the store. Glass shattering, shelves toppling, voices screaming. My heart pounded, each noise a blade against my nerves. Footsteps approached, heavy and deliberate, stopping outside the door. A pause, then a violent tug at the handle. They're here. The door shook, unyielding, but the sound alone was a nightmare. A promise of chaos beyond. Voices followed, low and angry, muffled by the steel. A man shouted, "This is the police, open up!" His tone was wrong, mocking, cruel. It's not the police. My manager's eyes met mine, his face ashen. A woman beside me stifled a sob, her hands trembling. The banging grew frantic, fists or tools hammering the door, each strike a pulse of terror. Don't make a sound, don't let them in. The command burned in my mind, anchoring me to silence. For 15 agonizing minutes, the assault continued. Shouts, bangs, then eerie pauses. Some in the room wept quietly. Others stared blankly, lost in their own dread. How long can we stay? Here? What if they break through? The questions looped, a trance of fear as the cold tightened its grip. Gradually the noises faded, the attacker's focus shifting elsewhere. A lone bang would jolt us, then silence, each moment stretching into eternity. After an hour, sirens pierced the air, distant at first, then closer. The door opened, not with force but with purpose. Police, their flashlights cutting through the gloom. "It's clear," one said, and we stumbled out, legs unsteady, into a store unrecognizable. Shelves lay toppled, products scattered like wreckage, glass crunching underfoot. The rioters had fled, the suburbs calming, but Chicago burned on. I walked through the debris, my breath uneven, the cold still clinging to me. We made it. But why does it feel like we didn't? Days later, I saw the store's shattered facade. On the news, a ghost of the place I'd known. The riots faded, but the sound of that door shaking, the mocking voice, stayed with me. A shadow I couldn't outrun. And in the quiet of my room, I still hear it. A faint, relentless echo, promising chaos could return. The lights flicker and the classroom falls silent. A voice crackles through the intercom, cold and final. "Lockdown, this is not a drill." My pencil slips from my hand, rolling across the desk, as my heart slams against my ribs. I'm 13, trapped in a school I thought was safe, but the air now hums with something dark. Something coming closer. Footsteps echo in the hall, fast, then slow, like a predator circling. My classmates huddle against the wall, eyes wide, breath shallow. I want to scream, but the silence chokes me. Outside, a shadow moves past the door's window, pausing just long enough to make my blood freeze. This isn't a drill, this is real. Middle school was a grind, same lockers, same lunchroom, same boring classes. Our school was small, tucked away in a sleepy town where the worst thing was a pop quiz. English class, second period, was the low point of my day. The teacher's voice droned, blending with the scratch of pens on paper. I slouched at my desk, doodling in the margins, counting down to lunch. The room felt stuffy, the clock ticking too slowly. But something was off, a prickle at the back of my neck, like the world was holding its breath. Then, the intercom screeched, a sharp sound that snapped every head up. "This is not a drill. Lockdown. Now." The words hit like a slap, raw and urgent. My classmates exchanged glances, confusion turning to fear. A lockdown here? The teacher, usually calm, paled. "Against the wall," he barked, pointing to the door's side. We stumbled over chairs, hearts racing as he fumbled with the lock. Before he could hit the lights, the power died, plunging us into a gray half-dark. A girl nearby choked back. A sob, her hands trembling. I pressed against the cold wall, my mind spinning. What's happening? Who's out there? The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Minutes dragged, 5, maybe 10, each one a weight on my chest. No one spoke. No one moved. The door's narrow window was our only link to the outside, and I couldn't stop staring, dreading what might appear. Then footsteps, quick, frantic, tearing down the hall. They stopped right outside, so sudden my breath caught. A desperate pounding shook the door, followed by a boy's voice raw with panic. "Please, let me in." The teacher froze, his hand on the lock. He squinted through the window, then with a sharp breath opened the door. A boy staggered in, pale as chalk, his eyes wild. I'd seen him in the halls maybe, but didn't know him. The teacher bolted the door, pulling him to the wall. "You okay?" he asked, voice tight. The boy nodded, but his whole body shook. I leaned closer, my voice barely a whisper. "What happened?" He swallowed hard, words tumbling out. He'd been in the bathroom when the lockdown hit, hiding in a stall. Everything was quiet until a man burst in, middle-aged, heavy steps, no words. The man pounded on each stall door, deliberate, like he was searching for something, or someone. When he reached the boy's stall, the boy slid under the partition, heart hammering, and ran. The man chased him, his boots thumping down a short hallway, but stopped just before the main corridor. "He saw me," the boy said, voice breaking. "He knew I was there." My stomach dropped, the room closing in. A man in our school, hunting. Kids? The boy's story spread through us like poison. The crying girls clutched each other, faces buried. The teacher's jaw tightened, his eyes darting to the door. We weren't safe. Not here, not now. Barely a minute passed before more footsteps came, slower, heavier, deliberate. They paused at our door, and a single heavy knock echoed sharp as a gunshot. My fists clenched, nails biting into my palms. Another set of steps joined, then a third. 2, maybe 3 people. Low voices murmured outside, too muffled to catch, but their tone was sharp, wrong. They weren't here to help. They wanted in. A girl whimpered, and the teacher hissed for silence, his face a mask of fear. I stared at the door, imagining hands testing the lock, eyes peering through the glass. Suddenly a shout, harsh, panicked, broke the murmurs. The footsteps scrambled, fading down the hall. Sirens wailed outside, growing louder, closer. "Police, they're here." Relief washed over us, but it was thin, fragile. We stayed huddled, silent, for another 20 minutes until the intercom buzzed. "All clear," it said, but the words felt hollow. Later they told us what happened. A group of men had walked into the school, posing as parents to pick up their kids. They weren't parents. When the office pushed back, they forced their way in, spreading through the halls. The police stopped them. No one was hurt, but that's all we got. No names, no reasons, just a story that didn't add up. I walk those halls every day now, but they're not the same. The lockers cast longer shadows, the corners hide something I can't see. I hear that knock in my dreams, feel those footsteps closing in. Who were they? What did they want? The questions cling to me, heavier than the silence before the door shook, and I know they'll never leave. The classroom smells of chalk dust and forgotten lunches, a faint hum of fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. I stand at the front, a substitute teacher thrown into this quiet corner of a nearly empty school. Most of the students are off on a field trip, their laughter echoing somewhere far beyond these walls. I'm left with 4 kids, the Fab Four as they call themselves, tight-knit, inseparable, their grins full of mischief. My instructions are simple: play a Mythbusters video, hand out worksheets, keep them busy. Easy, I think, adjusting my glasses, the weight of the day settling into my bones. But there's a stillness in this room, a kind of hush that feels too heavy for a sunny afternoon. It's like the air is waiting, holding its breath for something I can't yet see. The Fab Four sit in a cluster, whispering and giggling as the video starts, explosions and laughter crackling through the old projector. I lean against the teacher's desk, my fingers tracing the worn wood, trying to shake a nagging unease. I've subbed before. Countless classrooms, countless faces, but something about this place feels off. Maybe it's the emptiness of the school, the way the hallways beyond the door seem to stretch into shadow. My mind drifts to a memory. Years ago, when I was a young teacher's aide, locking up a school at dusk. The janitor had warned me about strange folks lingering after hours, their shadows slipping through the parking lot. I laughed it off then, but now, standing here, that warning feels like a cold hand on my shoulder. Barely 10 minutes into the video, the Fab Four raise their hands in unison, a synchronized plea. "Can we go to the bathroom?" they ask, their voices bright, almost rehearsed. I hesitate, but their eager nods disarm me. They're kids. They'll be fine. "Be quick," I say, pausing the video, the screen freezing on a burst of sparks. They scamper out, their footsteps echoing down the hall, leaving me alone with the hum of the lights and the faint tick of a clock. I sit, staring at the empty seats, the worksheets untouched. The silence grows thicker, pressing against my ears. They're taking too long. I glance at the door, half expecting their laughter to return, but there's nothing. Then it happens. A sharp crackle splits the air, the intercom roaring to life. This is a lockdown. This is not a drill. The words hit like a physical blow, my heart lurching into my throat. The room seems to tilt, the walls closing in. Lockdown? Now? My training kicks in. Lock the door, turn off the lights, hide. But the Fab Four are out there, somewhere in the school. Where are they? Panic claws at me, a primal urge to find them warring with the protocol, screaming to stay put. I step into the doorway, peering down the hall. The fluorescent lights flicker, casting long, wavering shadows that seem to move on their own. Find them. Bring them back. The command pulses through me, overriding fear. I grab the door key, my hands trembling, and step into the hall. The hallway is a tunnel of silence, the air heavy with the scent of floor polish and something sharper, like fear. My sneakers squeak against the linoleum, each step a betrayal of my presence. I reach the nearest bathroom, pushing the door open. "Fab Four? You in here?" My voice echoes, swallowed by the tiled walls. The stalls are empty, the mirrors reflecting only my pale, wide-eyed face. They're not here. My chest tightens, a cold sweat prickling my skin. I retrace my steps, the hall stretching endlessly, the lights buzzing like a swarm of insects. Back in the classroom, I lock the door, my breath ragged. The room is darker now, the paused video casting a ghostly glow. I stand by the door, straining to hear their footsteps, but the silence is absolute, suffocating. Something moves. A faint rustle, like fabric brushing against wood, comes from the back of the room. My heart stumbles. The kids? I scan the shadows, the desks looming like tombstones. In the dim light, the sound comes again, sharper, deliberate. It's not them. My eyes lock on a desk at the far end where the darkness seems thicker, heavier. I take a step, then another, my voice trembling. "Who's there?" The words hang in the air, unanswered. Then a shape rises from behind the desk. A man, tall and gaunt, his face obscured in shadow. Not a student. Not a teacher. My blood turns to ice, my legs rooted to the floor. His eyes glint, catching the projector's light, and for a moment I'm back in that empty school years ago. The janitor's warning ringing in my ears. They come when you're alone. Run. Now. The command snaps me free. I stumble back, my hip crashing against a desk, pain flaring but ignored. The man doesn't move, but his presence is a weight, crushing the air from the room. I sprint for the door, fumbling with the lock, my hands slick with sweat. The hall is a blur as I run to the nearest classroom, pounding on the door. A teacher opens it, her face paling as I gasp out my story. She dials the principal, and soon the school is alive with footsteps, police radios crackling in the distance. The man is gone when they search, vanished like a nightmare, but the lockdown was for him. A stranger who slipped in, unseen, searching for something or someone. The Fab Four, I learned later, had ducked into another teacher's room, safe but shaken. I sit in the principal's office, a blanket around my shoulders. The memory of that shadow behind the desk burned into my mind. What did he want? Why was he there? The questions linger, unanswered, weaving through my thoughts like ghosts. The classroom, once a place of chalk and laughter, is now a haunted space, its shadows alive with possibilities I'll never unsee. I take time off, but when I return to teaching, I check every corner, every desk, for the stranger who might still be waiting. The high school sprawled like a city, its halls buzzing with 5,000 souls, a chaotic symphony of laughter and footsteps. I navigated its corridors, a sophomore lost in the crowd, the air thick with the scent of chalk and sweat. That afternoon in physics class, the world felt ordinary, until a shadow flickered at the edge of my vision, a fleeting unease I couldn't name. Our physics project took us outside, the autumn sun warm on my skin, the school's brick facade looming behind us. I raised my hand, needing the bathroom, and my teacher waved me off. The school's side entrance was steps away, its glass doors reflecting a distorted version of myself. Inside, the halls were empty, the hum of fluorescent lights a faint pulse. I remembered a night last summer, walking home, feeling eyes on my back, the street too quiet. I'd turned, seeing nothing, but the fear had clung to me. The bathroom was near the entrance, its tiles grimy, the air damp with mildew. I stepped to the sink, the faucet dripping rhythmically, when the door swung open. A man entered, tall, older, his gray hoodie swallowing his frame. His eyes met mine, cold and unblinking, before he slipped into the far stall. My heart stuttered. Who is he? Teachers didn't dress like that, and he was no student. I dried my hands, the paper towel rasping, and hurried out, his presence a weight on my shoulders. Back outside, I rejoined my class, the man's face etched in my mind. Why was he here? The question looped, a trance of doubt as we worked on our project, the school's distant hum of false comfort. 15 minutes later, our teacher led us inside. The trek to our classroom, a winding path through the sprawling building. Halfway there, the intercom crackled, a voice sharp and urgent. "Lock down! Now! This is not a drill!" My stomach dropped. Him, the man in the hoodie, our teacher's face paled, urging us forward. But another teacher down the hall waved us into her classroom. "In here," she whispered, her room large, its walls lined with posters. We poured inside, huddling against the wall, the door locked, lights off. The air grew heavy, the silence suffocating. What's happening? Is he out there? My classmates' eyes darted, some trembling, others frozen. Minutes passed, each second a pulse of dread. Then, a soft tapping broke the quiet. Faint, deliberate from the window. He's here. My breath caught the sound anchoring my fear, a rhythm of terror. The tapping grew louder, insistent, and a voice followed, low and menacing. I know you're in there. Open the door. Don't move. Don't make a sound. The command burned in my mind, my body rigid. The voice grew angrier, words laced with venom demanding entry, swearing as the tapping became pounding. My teacher motioned for silence, her face a mask of fear. The man's voice was joined by another outside the window, shouting for him to stop. There's two of them. My heart raced, the room shrinking, the walls closing in. The pounding continued, relentless, until police sirens wailed in the distance. The voices argued, then faded, footsteps retreating. A final defiant knock echoed, then silence. We stayed crouched, the sirens growing louder, until police cleared the building. They caught one man fleeing, his face unfamiliar, not the hoodie I'd seen. The second man vanished, a ghost in the chaos. Back in the daylight, the school felt alien, its halls too bright, too quiet. Rumors swirled, they'd targeted the science labs, hunting expensive equipment. But I couldn't shake the man in the stall. His eyes locked on mine, a predator sizing me up. Days later, I walked those halls, the bathroom's damp air haunting me. Was he the one who escaped? The question gnawed, a shadow I couldn't outrun. At night, I'd lie awake hearing that tapping, faint but relentless, as if he was still out there, waiting. And somewhere in the dark, I swear I see his eyes watching, unblinking from the shadows. The bell hasn't rung, but a knock at the classroom door stops my heart. A girl slips a note to my teacher, and his eyes find mine across the room. You're needed, he says, voice low, handing me a folded paper that feels heavier than it should. It's my freshman year, and I'm just a kid in a history class, but that note, signed Mom, pulls me toward something dark. I step into the empty hallway, the words, "Pick you up at 10:30" burning in my mind. The air feels wrong, like a storm's brewing. Outside, a minivan waits, engine humming, and a stranger's eyes lock onto me. This isn't my mom. This isn't right. High school was new to me, a maze of lockers and unfamiliar faces. As a freshman, I was still finding my place, blending into the background of my third-period history class. Mr. Watterson's voice droned on about wars and dates, the chalkboard a blur of names. I doodled in my notebook, the clock's slow ticks my only focus. But something felt off that morning, a restlessness I couldn't shake, like the room was waiting for a crack. Then, a knock at the door. A girl from the office handed Mr. Watterson a note. He read it, his brow furrowing, then called my name. Me? I froze, confused. I hadn't heard of any appointment, and Mom always told me everything. My classmate's eyes followed as I walked to his desk. "See you later, pal," he said, handing me the note and a homework sheet. "Don't fall behind." I nodded, clutching the paper, and stepped into the hallway. The note was simple, handwritten. "I'll pick you up for your appointment at 10:30. Mom." My stomach twisted. Mom's handwriting was loopy, not this stiff scrawl. And an appointment? She'd have mentioned it. Maybe I forgot, I told myself, but doubt gnawed at me. The halls were empty, my sneakers echoing on the tiles. I headed to the side entrance where parents picked up kids, the note heavy in my hand. Why does this feel so wrong? At 10:28, I pushed through the doors to the parking lot. A minivan sat, alone, its engine running, not Mom's blue sedan. I scanned the lot, expecting her car, but it was just me and that van. The passenger window rolled down and a woman leaned out, her smile too tight. "I'm here to pick you up," she said. "Your mom sent me. I'm an old friend." Her voice was smooth, but her eyes were cold, like they were measuring me. I'd never seen her before. "How do you know my mom?" I asked, stepping back. She hesitated, then said, "We go way back." Her answer was too vague, too rehearsed. "I'll wait for her," I said, my voice shaking. She leaned closer, urging me to get in, but my instincts screamed to run. I turned toward the school, but the side doors wouldn't budge. Locked, like always during the day. Trapped. Then, the van's side door slid open. A man stepped out, tall, his face shadowed, moving toward me. He was in there the whole time. My heart pounded as I bolted, sprinting around the building to the front entrance. I didn't look back, my legs burning, the man's footsteps a faint echo in my mind. I burst through the front doors, gasping, and faced the office window. The woman there demanded my ID, her face skeptical as I stammered about the van. The woman, the man. Must have sounded crazy, but she wrote me a pass back to class. 15 minutes after leaving, I slipped back into history class, Mr. Watterson pausing mid-sentence. "Back so soon?" he asked, eyebrows raised. "Yeah, confusion," I mumbled. Sinking into my seat, the note crumpled in my pocket. My classmates stared, but I kept my eyes down, the woman's cold gaze still burning in my mind. What just happened? The day dragged on. In English class, Miss Gallow's warm voice was a small comfort, but the lesson felt distant. 20 minutes in, her desk phone rang. She answered, her face tightening, and hung up. "Lockdown," she said, her voice steady but sharp. "This is not a drill. To the back now. Not again." We scrambled to the floor, huddling in the dark, the room silent except for shallow breaths. I couldn't connect it to the van, not yet, but fear coiled in my chest. The lockdown lasted 30 minutes, the longest half hour of my life. No sounds, no answers, just waiting. Another call came and Miss Gallow announced it was over. Relief was, bleeding. By the end of the day, whispers filled the halls. A man had walked into the school ignoring the office's demands for ID. He'd vanished into the corridors, triggering the lockdown. Police found him hiding in the bathroom near my locker. The same man from the van. My blood ran cold. The note, the woman, the man. They'd targeted me. They'd forged the note, lured me out, and when that failed, he'd come inside. Why me? How did they know my name? The school gave no answers, just assurances it was handled. But it wasn't. I see that van in my dreams, hear his steps behind me. I check my locker, the halls, expecting him to reappear. Who were they? What did they want? Those questions haunt me, and I know they always will. The school smells of sweat and old textbooks, the kind of stale air that clings to your skin. I'm slouched in my fourth period class, 18 years old, half asleep, my pencil tapping a lazy rhythm on the desk. The teacher's voice drones on, AED, distant hum as sunlight spills through the windows, painting the room in a hazy gold. It's just another day, one I'll forget by tomorrow. My backpack slumps against my chair, stuffed with crumpled notes and dreams of escaping this place. But there's a weight in the air today, a subtle pressure I can't name, like the world is holding its breath, waiting for something to break. The classroom is a cage of restless energy. Kids whispering, passing notes, stealing glances at their phones. I'm no different, my eyes drifting to the clock, counting down to freedom. I think of home, my quiet house in the suburbs, where the yards stretch wide and the streets are empty by dusk. It's my sanctuary, the only place I feel untethered. But that thought is shattered when the intercom crackles, a sharp, grating sound that slices through the room. Attention, students and staff. This is a code red lockdown. Follow procedures immediately. My heart stumbles, the words sinking in like cold water. Lockdown? For real? The teacher's face hardens, her voice low and urgent. Corner, now. We scramble, huddling against the wall, the room plunging into shadow as she flicks off the lights. The silence is suffocating, broken only by the soft whimpers of a classmate and the thud of my own pulse. We're packed tight, knees drawn up, the floor cold against my jeans. The darkness feels alive, pressing against us, and I can't shake the memory of a story my cousin told me years ago. He was in a lockdown once, heard footsteps in the hall, saw a shadow pass the door. He swore it wasn't a drill, that someone was out there hunting. I laughed it off then, but now, crouched here, that story feels like a warning carved into my bones. Stay still. Stay quiet. The commands loop in my mind, anchoring me to this moment, this fear. Hours crawl by. Or maybe it's minutes. Time blurring. The dark. Whispers ripple through the group. Someone says they saw a guy in a red sweatshirt in the hall before the lockdown. Another claims he's an intruder, maybe armed. I don't know what to believe, but the image of that red sweatshirt burns into my mind, vivid and wrong like a stain on the day. The teacher shushes us, but the rumors grow, weaving a web of dread. Finally, the intercom hums again. The lockdown is lifted. Proceed with caution. Relief floods the room, but it's brittle, laced with doubt. We shuffle back to our seats, the lights harsh against our eyes. The world feeling slightly off, like a dream I can't wake from. School ends, and I board the bus, my backpack heavy on my shoulders. The ride home is a blur of chatter and diesel, fumes, but I'm distracted, my eyes scanning the road. That red sweatshirt lingers in my thoughts, a ghost I can't shake. As we near my stop, I notice a car parked a block from my house, half hidden by the neighbor's oak tree. It's not one I recognize, its dark paint gleaming under the fading light. My stomach twists, but I tell myself it's nothing, just a neighbor's guest. I step off the bus, the air cool against my skin, and start the short walk home. The car doesn't move, but I feel its presence, like eyes boring into my back. My house looms ahead, a small ranch-style home surrounded by wide lawns, the kind of place where nothing ever happens. My parents are at work, the windows dark, the silence absolute. I unlock the door, my hands unsteady, and slip inside. The living room is dim, the TV a blank mirror reflecting my tense face. I drop my backpack, trying to shake the unease, but my eyes are drawn to the window. The car is still there. My heart quickens, a cold sweat prickling my neck. I peek through the curtains, my breath shallow. The car hasn't moved, and now I see someone inside, a faint shape in the driver's seat. Who are you? I call my mom, keeping my voice light, asking when she'll be home. A couple hours, she says, oblivious to the panic clawing at me. I don't tell her about the car, don't want her to worry. But the fear is a living thing now, coiling tighter. I turn on the TV, a sitcom's laugh track jarring against the quiet. But my eyes keep darting to the window, the car a constant shadow in my mind. Stop looking. It's nothing. I try to focus, but then I hear it. A faint thud, like a car door closing. My pulse spikes. I creep to the window, parting the curtains. The man is out now, standing in my front yard, his red sweatshirt ablaze against the dusk. It's him. My knees buckle, the world narrowing to that crimson figure. He starts walking toward the house, his steps slow, deliberate. I duck, my heart hammering, and sprint to my bedroom, slamming the door. Under the bed, I curl up, my phone clutched tight, the darkness swallowing me. A knock at my bedroom window sends a jolt through me, sharp and electric. He's here. My fingers tremble as I dial 911, whispering to the operator, my voice barely audible. The knocking stops, but the silence is worse, heavy with his presence. Then a crash. glass shattering at the back of the house. He's inside. Footsteps shuffle, slow and searching, the floorboards groaning under his weight. I hold my breath, every sound a blade against my nerves. Suddenly sirens wail, a glorious sound cutting through the night. The footsteps falter, then retreat, a door slamming as he flees. I stay hidden, trembling, until the police knock. Their voice is a lifeline. They catch him in the neighbor's yard. The man in the red sweatshirt, the same one who triggered the lockdown. He'd slipped into the school that morning, evading security, hiding until he could follow me. Why me? The question haunts me, unanswered. The house feels different now, its safety a lie. I lie awake at night, the image of that red sweatshirt burned into my mind, a shadow that followed me home. My cousin's story echoes, a reminder that some dangers don't end when the sirens fade. He's gone, I tell myself, but the night outside my window feels alive, watching, waiting for me, to let my guard down. The school stood silent under a gray Saturday morning sky, its halls echoing with the ghosts of a bustling week. I sat in a language arts classroom, the air heavy with the scent of old books and dust, serving my sentence for forgetting library books. The clock ticked toward 8 a.m., each second stretching into eternity, and a chill crept up my spine, whispering that something was off. Saturday school was detention by another name, a punishment for minor sins. I was a junior, a good student, usually, but a lost textbook had landed me here. The room held 5 of us, overseen by Mr. Sanders, a kind teacher with a weary smile. 2 boys I knew, troublemakers who skipped class, slouched in their seats while 2 others, unfamiliar, stared blankly at their desks. I remembered my first detention, a year ago, alone in a room, hearing footsteps outside that never came. Closer. The memory made this room feel smaller, more confining. Mr. Sanders sat at his desk, tapping at his computer, the faint glow casting shadows on his face. "Work on something," he said, handing me a task to write about my mistake. Scribbled a short essay, the words mechanical, my mind drifting to the weekend I'd rather have. By 9:30, I'd finished my homework and grabbed a book from the shelf, its pages yellowed, the room's silence pressing against me. Why does it feel so empty? The thought looped, a trance of unease, as the school's quiet hum grew ominous. Mr. Sanders stood stretching. "I'm stepping out for a minute," he said, a half-joke in his tone. "You'll be fine, right?" We nodded, and he left, the door closing softly. Moments later, one of the troublemakers, a lanky boy with hooded eyes, slipped out without a word. "Where's he going?" The question gnawed, but I buried it, focusing on my book. The remaining 4 of us exchanged glances, the room's stillness heavier now, the air thick with anticipation. Then, the intercom hummed, a voice slicing through the quiet. "Lockdown, this is not a drill." My heart lurched. Lockdown on a Saturday? The others froze, eyes wide, the room shrinking around us. "Should we lock the door?" a girl whispered. I nodded, my legs unsteady, and crossed to the door, turning the lock. Someone flicked off the lights, plunging us into shadow. We huddled in the back, desks looming like sentinels, the silence deafening. What's out there? Minutes crawled by, each breath a struggle against the weight of fear. The school was nearly empty. Only one door unlocked for Saturday school. So why a lockdown? My mind raced, replaying Mr. Sanders' exit, the boys' departure. Did they cause this? The thought looped, a trance of dread, as the room's chill seeped into my bones. We sat, knees drawn up, listening for any sound. The darkness a living thing watching. A soft knock broke the silence, tentative at first, then urgent. My pulse spiked. Who's there? I crept to the door, peering through the small window. The lanky boy stood outside, his face pale, eyes frantic, motioning to be let in. Please, he mouthed. I reached for the lock, my hand trembling, when a shout echoed down the hall, sharp, commanding, "Police!" The boy's eyes widened, and he bolted, his footsteps fading into the distance. "Don't open the door. Stay safe." The command burned in my mind, anchoring me to stillness. We crouched, hearts pounding, as more shouts drifted through the walls, too muffled to decipher. Is it really the police or something worse? The girl beside me gripped my arm, her breath shallow. 5 minutes later, a firm knock came, followed by a voice. "Police, open the door." We hesitated, fear battling trust, until flashlights pierced the window. I unlocked the door and officers entered, their faces grim. "It's clear," one said, leading us out. In the hall, they explained. The lanky boy had followed Mr. Sanders to the bathroom and attacked him, knocking him unconscious with a single blow. A janitor's shout had triggered the lockdown. Mr. Sanders was alive, hospitalized with a concussion, but the boy's motive remained a mystery. Why him? Rumors whispered of a past suspension, a grudge, but nothing certain. The school felt alien now, its empty halls too bright, too quiet, the air heavy with what could have been. I left that day, the morning sky still gray, the classroom's shadows clinging to me. What if I'd opened the door? The question haunted, a shadow I couldn't shake. At night I'd lie awake hearing that knock, soft but relentless, as if he was still out there, waiting for me to let him in. And in the quiet, I see his eyes, pleading, but hiding something darker, something I'll never understand. The night is too quiet, the streets too empty, but my phone buzzes with a DoorDash order that feels like a lure. I'm alone in my car, the dashboard glowing, when a truck's headlights flood my mirrors at a red light. A man leans out, his eyes fixed not on me but on the delivery bag beside me, hungry, unblinking. The light turns green and I drive, but his truck follows, a shadow that won't let go. My heart pounds, the road stretching into darkness. This isn't just a delivery, it's a trap, and I'm the prey. Weekends were my chance to make extra. Cash driving for DoorDash, a side hustle to stretch my day job's paycheck. I'd start late, around 9 p.m., weaving through the city's neon-lit streets. That night, the air was cool, the roads nearly deserted. I dropped off my first order, a burger and fries, then circled back to the restaurant strip, waiting for the app to ping. 10 minutes passed, then 15, the dashboard clock ticking in silence. Slow night, I thought, frustration creeping. In weekends usually buzzed with orders, but tonight the app was dead. Finally, a notification lit up my phone. A small order, 2 tacos from Taco Bell, with a tip barely worth the gas. I sighed but accepted, pulling into the drive-thru. The bag was light, just tacos and hot sauce packets. The order so cheap the delivery fee probably cost more. I confirmed the pickup, the app directing me to a house 10 minutes away. A regular neighborhood I'd driven through before. Easy money, I told myself. But the night felt heavier now, the darkness pressing against my windows. A few minutes in, I stopped at a red light, the intersection empty under a flickering street lamp. My fingers tapped the wheel, impatient, when a truck rolled up beside me. I glanced over, a reflex, and froze. The driver, a man with sharp features, leaned out his window, staring into my car, not at me, but at the DoorDash bag on the passenger seat. His eyes were locked, unblinking, like he was memorizing it. My skin prickled. The light turned green and I accelerated, my heart thudding. Why was he looking? I checked my mirrors. The truck was behind me now, in my lane, keeping pace. Just a coincidence, I reasoned, but my grip tightened on the wheel. The route was straight, no turns, so I couldn't be sure if he was following. But his stare lingered in my mind, cold and deliberate. When I turned into the neighborhood, I held my breath, watching the mirrors. Please pass. 10 seconds later, the truck turned in, its headlights glaring. He's following me. The app led me through quiet streets, houses dark, the night swallowing sound. My palms sweated, my eyes flicking between the road and the truck. The final turn took me to a narrow street, a dead-end sign glowing ahead. No way out. I pulled over, heart racing, staring at my rearview mirror. The truck stopped behind me, its headlights blinding, engine idling like a beast waiting to pounce. I fumbled for my phone, trying to think. Call the customer? The police? A text popped up from the customer. When will you be here? My stomach dropped. It's him. The man in the truck. The pieces snapped together. He'd ordered the tacos, lured me here to this dead end. I was trapped, my car cage, his truck blocking the only exit. I scanned the street, desperate for a plan, but the houses were dark, no one to help. A minute passed, my breath shallow. Then the truck's door opened. He stepped out, tall, shadowed, moving toward my car with slow, deliberate steps. He stopped by my trunk, staring through the back windshield, his silhouette filling the mirror. My mind screamed, thoughts colliding. Run, fight, hide. Then he raised something, a bat, a pipe, and smashed it into my rear windshield. Glass exploded, shards raining into the car. I slammed the car into drive, foot on the gas, tires screeching. He lunged, grabbing the broken frame, trying to climb through the shattered glass. He's on the car. I swerved, making a tight U-turn, and he fell, tumbling to the pavement. I weaved past his truck, heart pounding, glass crunching under my seat. In the mirror, he staggered across the street, a dark figure fading as I sped away. I called 911, my voice shaking, recounting the attack. The police met me blocks away, but when they searched the street, they found only glass scattered on the road. No truck, no man, no trace. He was gone. I drove home, the night a blur, the broken windshield letting in cold air that couldn't calm my nerves. Months later, I'm still shaken. I don't drive for DoorDash anymore. Every late-night car behind me feels like that truck. Every order a potential trap. Who was he? Why me? The questions haunt me, heavier than the glass I swept from my car, and I pray he's not out there, waiting for another driver to deliver themselves to him. The desert night wraps around my car like a shroud, the headlights carving a lonely path through the darkness. I'm an Uber driver, cruising the quiet suburbs outside Las Vegas, where the streets are wide and the houses sleep under starless skies. It's past 10 p.m., my dashboard clock glowing a sickly green. The hum of the engine my only companion. I've been at it for hours, ferrying late-night revelers and tired workers. My eyes heavy but my wallet light. The app pings. A new ride. Request from a spot 18 minutes away, marked vaguely near a storage garage. I accept, my tires crunching gravel as I turn toward the unknown, a faint unease stirring in my gut. The road stretches endless, flanked by empty lots and skeletal billboards, their faded ads peeling in the moonlight. I've driven these routes for months, seen my share of odd passengers, drunks, stoners, the occasional creep, but nothing's ever felt like this. The air feels charged, like a storm's brewing, though the sky is clear. My mind drifts to a night last summer when I picked up a guy from a dive bar, his eyes wild, muttering about debts he couldn't pay. He left a knife on the seat, its blade glinting under the streetlights. I turned it over to the cops, but the memory lingers. a cold weight in my chest. Focus. It's just a ride. I shake it off, but the storage garage looms in my thoughts, a place where shadows hide secrets. 5 minutes out, my phone rings, the caller ID flashing the passenger's number. "I'm gonna be late," a man's voice rasps, breathless like he's been running. "Wait for me, just a few minutes." He hangs up before I can respond, his words sharp, urgent. Late? At this hour? My stomach twists, but I need the fare, and a tip might sweeten the deal. I pull into the storage garage lot, a sprawl of metal units under flickering sodium lights. The place is deserted, the gates locked, the only sound a distant dog barking. I park, my headlights sweeping the empty pavement, and wait. The minutes drag, each one heavier than the last, the silence pressing against my ears like water. Then I see him. A figure emerges in my rearview mirror, moving fast, a bulky duffel bag slung over his shoulder. My heart skips as he approaches, his silhouette sharp against the dim lights. He yanks open the back door, and a wave of stench hits me, sweat, sour and acrid, mixed with something metallic like rust. "Go," he mutters, slumping into the seat, the bag clutched tight on his lap. I glance at him in the mirror, mid-30s maybe, his face slick with sweat, eyes fixed straight ahead. His clothes are dark, damp, clinging to his frame. "What's in that bag?" I force a smile, greeting him, but he says nothing, his silence a wall between us. I pull onto the road, the engine's hum drowned by the pounding in my chest. The drive is a nightmare of quiet, the man's presence a weight in the car. The duffel bag shifts slightly, a soft thud against the seat, and I swear I hear a faint squelch, like something wet inside. Don't look, just drive. The command loops in my mind, but my eyes keep flicking to the mirror, catching his stillness, his hands gripping the bag like it's a lifeline. The road is empty, the suburbs a maze of identical houses, their windows dark. I try to focus, but the smell grows stronger, clogging the air, seeping into my skin. My knuckles whiten on the wheel, the memory of that knife flashing again. Its cold edge, the way it felt wrong, dangerous. This feels worse. 20 minutes later, we reach the drop-off, a corner lot with no address, just a street lamp casting a sickly glow. Before I can shift into park, the man bolts, the door slamming as he vanishes into the shadows. No tip, no goodbye, just the echo of his footsteps. I sit there, my hands trembling, the car too quiet now. He's gone. It's over. But the smell lingers, thick and wrong, curling around me like a ghost. I roll down the windows, but it doesn't help. Something compels me to check the back seat, a nagging dread I can't ignore. I lean over, my flashlight beam slicing through the dark, and freeze. Red spots stain the upholstery, small but unmistakable, their edges wet, glistening. Blood. My breath catches, the world tilting. I touch one, my finger coming away sticky, the metallic scent unmistakable. Call the police. Now. The command snaps me into action. I dial 911, my voice shaking as I explain, the words tumbling out. The operator keeps me calm, but my eyes are locked on the stains, each one a scream in the silence. The police arrive, their flashlights sweeping the car, confirming what I already know. It's blood, human, fresh. They search the storage unit, trace the Uber account, but the man's gone. His profile a dead end, a fake. I drive home. The car cleaned but tainted. The smell of blood lingering in my mind. What did he do? Who was in that bag? The questions haunt me, weaving through my dreams like shadows. That knife from last summer feels like a warning now. A prelude to this night when I carried something evil and didn't even know it. I'm back on the road now, but I check every passenger, every bag, for the blood I'll never unsee. The highway stretched into the Nebraska night, a ribbon of asphalt swallowed by endless fields, the stars above too faint to pierce the darkness. I gripped the wheel of my rig, the hum of the engine my only companion after 20 hours on the road. My eyes burned, heavy with exhaustion, but a flicker of movement in the shadows snapped me awake, a whisper of danger I couldn't shake. I'd driven cross-country for 4 years, hauling families' lives from coast to coast, my trailer packed, with their memories. This job was no different. A 30-hour trek from the East Coast to the West with rest stops few and far between. Iowa and Nebraska were the worst. Desolate, monotonous, the kind of roads that lull you into a trance. I remembered a night 2 years back, stuck on a similar stretch. A car tailing me for miles, its headlights unyielding. I'd pulled over, heart racing, but it sped past, leaving me rattled. The sun had set as I crossed into Nebraska. The sky, a bruise of purple and black. My body ached, my mind foggy, but I pushed on, chasing the next rest stop. A mile marker glowed faintly, and then I saw it. A car parked on the shoulder, its headlights slicing through the night. I slowed, the narrow road forcing caution. A man leaned against the driver's door, his face obscured, staring at me. Why is he here? My gut twisted, the question looping, a trance of unease. I nodded, more reflex than courtesy, and eased past. The car's exhaust curling like a warning. I checked my mirrors, the car's lights fading behind me. Just a stranded driver, I told myself, but the silence of the road felt heavier now, oppressive. A mile later, my headlights caught something new. A car angled across the lane, blocking my path. Beside it, a box van loomed, its bulk a silent threat. This isn't right. My heart pounded, the air in the cab thick with dread. Shadows moved along the road. Men, 4 or 5, their figures sharp against the glare. I braked, my rig groaning, stopping 20 yards short. The men stood still, their confidence chilling as if they knew I had nowhere to go. What do they want? The question looped, my hands trembling on the wheel. I shifted to reverse, but a light flared behind me, another car blocking my retreat. A man sprinted from it, charging my trailer, while the others rushed forward, their faces hidden, intent clear. Run, drive, now! The command surged, adrenaline flooding my veins. I slammed the gas, the rig lurching, a beast awakened. The men ahead shouted, waving arms, but I didn't stop. My bumper hit the blocking car, metal screaming, shoving it aside like a toy. A jolt rocked the trailer, its doors bursting open, cargo spilling across the road. Gunshots echoed, distant and wild, none finding their mark. I gripped the wheel, the rig roaring, the men scattering into the dark. 5 miles later, I pulled, over hands shaking, and called 911. My voice raw, the night pressing in. Police met me on the road, their flashlights sweeping the wreckage in my trailer. The car I'd rammed was abandoned, crumpled beyond repair. They planned this. The realization hit hard, a cold truth. Investigators uncovered the plot. The men had targeted the wealthy homeowners whose belongings I carried, knowing their value. One attacker was caught, spilling details, but the others vanished, shadows in the night. What would they have done to me? The question lingered, unanswered. A fear too dark to face. I drove on, the road my life, but Nebraska's fields haunted me. Those men are still out there. At night, I'd see their silhouettes in my mirrors, hear the echo of that car's metal crumpling, a sound that never left. And in the quiet, I feel their eyes, watching from the dark, waiting for another chance to strike. The forest breathes in silence, but a single snap of a twig freezes my blood. Tyler and I are alone, our tent a frail shield against the night when a sound cuts through. Footsteps, human, deliberate, circling just beyond our dying flashlights. Glow. I'm a high school kid chasing a thrill in the woods behind my house, but this isn't a game. The steps pause, close enough to hear breathing, and my heart screams one truth. Someone's out there, watching, waiting. This night was supposed to be an adventure, but it's turning into a nightmare we might not escape. High school was a blur of homework and boredom, but the woods behind my house held a kind of magic. As kids, my friends and I would race through those trees playing hide and seek, the forest's shadows adding a thrill of danger. We'd outgrown those games by our teens, the woods fading into just a backdrop. But one lazy afternoon, sprawled on my couch, Tyler, my best friend since middle school, grinned and said, "What if we went back out there? At night?" His eyes sparkled with mischief, and my pulse quickened. A night in the woods? Why not? The idea snowballed. A simple walk became a full-on camping trip. Tyler swore his parents had a tent we could borrow, so we trekked to his garage, hauling back a dusty bundle that smelled of mildew. Neither of us had camped before, not really, but we shrugged it off. One night, no big deal. We stuffed a backpack with chips, water bottles, and a portable charger, laughing about ghost stories we'd tell. As dusk fell, we stepped into the forest, the trees swallowing the last of the daylight. The air was cool, the ground soft, but something felt watchful, like the woods knew we didn't belong. Tyler's flashlight was a joke, its beam barely reaching a few feet, flickering like it was on its last breath. We stumbled through underbrush, avoiding trees by luck more than skill. For the first 15 minutes we chatted, our voices loud, excited, planning how we'd brag about this at school. But the deeper we went, the quieter we got. The forest's silence was heavy, unbroken by wind or wildlife, like it was holding its breath. A twig snapped somewhere, faint, and I froze, but the light showed nothing. We kept walking, the silence wrapping tighter, until we found a grassy clearing ringed by trees. Setting up the tent was a disaster. Tyler claimed it was easy assemble, but the poles bent, the fabric sagged, and our hands fumbled in the dark. It took an hour, maybe more, our frustration punctuated by pauses to shine the flashlight at every rustle. A leaf falling, a squirrel, or nothing at all. Each sound made my chest tighten, the forest feeling less like an adventure and more like a warning. By the time the tent stood, wobbly but upright, I was regretting this. Tyler, though, grinned, tossing our bag inside. We crawled in, the tense, thin walls barely muffling the night. For a while it was peaceful. The forest would go silent, then stir, birds calling, leaves rustling, a rhythm that felt alive. We munched on chips, joking about bears, trying to ignore the dark pressing against us. Then a sound stopped us cold. Footsteps, heavy, human, moving through the trees. They weren't close, not yet, but they were unmistakable, not the scurry of an animal. Tyler's eyes met mine, wide, questioning. We held our breath, listening as the steps passed, fading after a minute. We didn't speak, staring at the tense fabric, the flashlight clutched in Tyler's hand. "Who's out here?" 10 minutes later, sure the stranger was gone. We unzipped the tent and sat outside, the confined space too suffocating. The clearing felt exposed, but at least we could see, or try to. We talked in low voices, nerves fraying, until the sound returned. Footsteps closer now, deliberate, coming straight for us. Tyler fumbled the flashlight, its beam shaking as he aimed it toward the sound. The steps slowed, each one louder, closer, until they were just beyond the light's reach. We froze, the beam trembling in Tyler's grip. The steps stopped, so near, I swore I heard breathing, shallow and steady. They're right there. My heart pounded, my body screaming to run, but fear rooted me. The silence stretched, unbearable, then a single step backward, followed by more retreating into the dark. A minute later, the forest was silent again, but the air felt charged, like a storm had passed too close. We didn't wait. We tore down, the tent, poles clattering, fabric ripping in our haste. We grabbed our bag and ran, the flashlight's weak beam bouncing wildly. Branches snagged my clothes, roots tripped me, but I didn't stop. We lost the path, stumbling onto a neighboring street, the forest spitting us out. At my house, we collapsed in my room, staying up all night, whispering about what we'd heard, what might have happened, who was out there, what did they want. I haven't gone near those woods since. Even now, years later, I avoid isolated places. The memory of those footsteps a shadow that follows me. The forest keeps its secrets, but I know one truth. We came too close to something awful, and it let us go for now. The Illinois forest hums with a quiet so deep it feels alive, a chorus of crickets and rustling leaves wrapping around me. I'm alone, my boots sinking into the soft earth, my backpack heavy with gear for my first solo camping trip. The trail is flat, a straight shot through towering oaks, their branches weaving a canopy that filters the fading sunlight into golden slivers. I'd read about this place online, a secluded spot with a small pond at the end, perfect for a beginner like. It is, but as I trek deeper, the forest feels too still, too watchful, like it's holding secrets in its shadows. My tent sways in the breeze as I set it up, a fragile shield against the vastness of the night. The pond is smaller than I'd hoped, a muddy circle fringed with reeds, its surface rippling under the dusk. I'd imagined a serene view, but this feels more like a forgotten place, left to fester in the wild. I pitch my tent a safe distance away, the ground dry but uneven, roots pressing against my sleeping bag. The air is cool, heavy with the scent of damp earth and pine. I light a small fire, the flames crackling as I heat a can of beans, trying to settle my nerves. Years ago, as a kid, I camped with my dad in a forest like this. He'd tell ghost stories, his voice low, the firelight dancing in his eyes. One tale, about a camper who vanished after following a strange light, stuck with me. I laughed then, but now, alone, that story feels like a warning carved into the trees. Night falls, the forest swallowing the last traces of day. My fire burns low, casting flickering shadows that seem to move when I'm not looking. I'm restless. The solitude, heavier than I expected. To shake it off, I grab my flashlight and circle the pond, my boots squishing in the mud. The far side is no different, more trees, more silence. But as I turn back, a faint glow catches my eye. A light across the pond. My heart skips. It's steady, nestled in the trees where I'd walked just hours ago. Another camper? The thought comforts me, but only for a moment. This forest is too remote, too empty. I stare, the light unwavering, and a chill crawls up my spine. It wasn't there before, something's wrong. The realization hits like a stone in my gut. I return to my camp, my flashlight beam trembling, cutting through the dark. The fire is nearly out, its embers glowing faintly. I rebuild it, my hands unsteady, but my eyes keep drifting to the light across the pond. It's brighter now, sharper, not the warm flicker of a campfire, but the cold glare of a flashlight. Who's out there? My pulse quickens. The forest's silence now await, pressing against my chest. I try to focus, but the light pulses, then dims, flickering like a dying star. I wait, frozen, my breath shallow, expecting it to return. It doesn't. The darkness across the pond is absolute, a void that feels alive watching me. Go check. Find out. The command surges, reckless but insistent. I cross the pond again, my flashlight sweeping the trees, the beam weak against the night's depth. The ground is soft, my boots sinking as I near the spot where the light was. My heart pounds, each step a battle against the urge to turn back. Then I see it, a flashlight half buried in the grass, its lens cracked but intact. I kneel, my fingers brushing the cold metal. It's new, no rust, no wear, but the batteries are dead. Who left this? I scan the trees, the shadows thick, unmoving. My dad's story echoes. The camper followed the light and was never seen again. I push it away, but the flashlight feels wrong, like a lure left for me. I set it down, my hands trembling, and start back to camp. Then I see them. My fire pit glows faintly, but two figures stand beside it, their shapes sharp against the flames. My blood turns to ice. Two men, tall and broad, their faces hidden in shadow, are rummaging through my tent. One lifts my backpack, shaking it, while the other scans the camp. They're in my space. My throat tightens, my body rooted to the ground. I crouch behind a tree, my flashlight off, the darkness my only shield. The second man pauses, turning toward the pond, his gaze sweeping the tree line. He's looking for me. Our eyes meet for a split second, a jolt of terror searing through me. He moves fast, slipping into the trees, his footsteps crunching closer. Run, now. The command breaks my paralysis. I bolt, branches snapping under my feet, the forest a blur of shadows and thorns. My lungs burn, my legs heavy, but I don't stop. The man's pursuit a phantom at my back. I weave through the trees, the trail a distant memory. My only thought, the car parked miles away. His footsteps fade, or maybe I've outrun him, but the fear doesn't. I stumble onto a road, my car a beacon in the moonlight. I fumble with the high keys, dive inside and lock the doors, my breath ragged. The forest looms outside, silent but alive, its secrets untouched. I drive until I get a signal, my hands shaking as I call 911. The police search the forest but find nothing. No men, no tracks, just my abandoned camp, my gear scattered like trash. They take my statement, but the case goes cold, another mystery swallowed by the woods. I'm safe now, but the flashlight haunts me. Was it theirs? Someone else's? The thought gnaws at me, a shadow I can't shake. My dad's story feels real. Ow, a truth hidden in the light I followed. I'll never camp again, not in that forest, not anywhere. The night has eyes and I've seen them. The forest exhaled a damp, earthy breath, its trees standing like silent sentinels under a fading afternoon sky. I hiked alone, my boots sinking into the muddy trail, the promise of solitude pulling me deeper into the wilderness. But as the leaves rustled overhead, a prickle of unease crept up my neck, as if the woods themselves were watching, waiting. I'd camped alone for years, chasing the quiet of nature, but this 4-mile trail was new, a remote stretch 2 hours from home. The path wound through dense trees, its surface slick with recent rain, each step a reminder of my isolation. I remembered a trip last spring, waking to scratches on my tent, dismissing them as an animal. But the sound had lingered, a warning. I ignored. My pack weighed heavy, but excitement drove me forward, the trail's end promising a clearing for my camp. 45 minutes in, I froze. Off the path, half hidden by ferns, stood a tent, torn, weathered, its fabric sagging like a forgotten relic. What's it doing here? I approached, heart quickening, the air thick with the scent of moss and decay. The tent was empty, its interior bare, No signs of recent use. Who leaves this behind? The question looped, a trance of doubt, as I scanned the trees, their shadows shifting in the breeze. I moved on, the trail's silence now oppressive, each snap of a twig jolting my nerves. As I hiked, more relics appeared. Rusted cookware, a torn sleeping bag, a single boot, scattered like offerings to the forest. This isn't right. My excitement curdled into dread, the trail a graveyard of abandoned dreams. Did someone flee? The thought looped, my steps faltering, the woods closing in. By dusk I reached the trail's end, a small clearing far from the path. I pitched my tent, the nylon taut against the evening chill, but sleep eluded me. The forests hummed too alive, too watchful. At dawn the air was sharp, the sky a pale gray. I unzipped my tent, stretching, when my breath caught. He was there. A man stood steps away, tall and gaunt, his clothes filthy, streaked with grime. His face was a mask of dirt, his eyes hollow, unblinking, fixed on me. How long has he been watching? Time slowed, the world narrowing to his gaze, a predator's stare. "Leave," he said, his voice soft, chilling, like a blade against skin. My heart pounded, hands fumbling for my backpack. "Run. Don't look back." The command surged, adrenaline flooding my veins. He lunged, his steps heavy, and I stumbled, abandoning my gear. "Leave!" he roared again, closer now, his voice raw, unhinged. I sprinted, branches clawing my skin, the forest a blur of green and shadow. His footsteps echoed behind me, then faded, swallowed by the trees. I didn't stop, my lungs burning until I reached my car, keys shaking in my pocket. I drove until I found a signal, calling 911, my voice trembling as I recounted the encounter. The police searched the trail, finding my scattered belongings. Tent, torn, gear tossed like trash. He didn't keep anything. They uncovered a similar report, buried, unreleased, another camper chased off, their camp desecrated. No trace of the man, no footprints, no clues. Who was he? The question haunted, a shadow in my mind. Weeks passed, but the forest clung to me. Was he a ghost, a drifter, or something worse? At night I'd wake, hearing his voice, soft and cruel, echoing through my dreams. And in the quiet, I see his eyes hollow and endless, staring from the trees, daring me to return. The key turns in my lock, but the house feels wrong, like it's holding its breath. I'm 20, fresh in a new home, when a truck idles in my driveway, an hour early for a Craigslist pickup. A man steps out, his smile too stiff, his eyes too sharp, claiming he's here for my furniture. I let him in, but a faint sound from downstairs, a shuffle, a thump, freezes my blood. His gaze shifts, cold and knowing, and I realize I'm not alone. Someone's been here, hiding, watching, and this isn't just a sale. It's an invasion. At 20, I was ready for a new chapter. My one-bedroom apartment, a cramped box I'd called home since 18, felt like a cage. A better job and some savings let me rent a small house, a modest place but a step up with space to breathe. Moving in was a thrill, but my old furniture betrayed me. The apartment's tiny couch and mismatched shelves looked lost in the new rooms, like toys in a giant's lair. It didn't feel like mine, not yet. I spent months saving for new pieces, and to clear the old, I turned to Craigslist, listing dressers, shelves, and tables for free. I didn't care about money, just wanted them gone, hauled away by anyone willing. Most items vanished quickly, strangers carting them off with quick thanks. But two pieces lingered, a scuffed bedroom dresser and a wobbly nightstand. Relics no one wanted. After a month of silence, my phone buzzed with a message. Someone asked if they were still available, if they were really free. Yes, I replied, relief mixing with impatience. We set a pickup for 7:30 p.m. the next day. Work kept me late and I pulled into my driveway at 6:30, expecting an empty street. Instead, a truck sat there, its engine off, headlights dark. Parked beside it, peering through its window, empty. Unease prickled my skin. Who shows up an hour early without a text? I opened my garage, parked, and stepped back out to check the truck again. This time, a man sat inside. He waved, climbing out, his smile tight. "I'm here for the furniture," he said, introducing himself as the Craigslist buyer. I hesitated, my mind racing to place him, to understand where he'd been moments ago. "You're early," I said, voice sharp. "Thought we said 7:30. He apologized, mumbling about a schedule change, but his eyes darted, never settling. "Something's off." I let him inside. The house's quiet wrapping around us. The dresser and nightstand waited in the living room, their scratches glaring under the lamplight. He glanced at them, nodding. "I'll take 'em," he said too, quick, like he'd already decided. We hauled the dresser first, its weight straining my arms, and loaded it into his truck bed. Back inside for the nightstand, he lifted it easily, but as we moved toward the door, a sound stopped me. A faint shuffle from downstairs, followed by a soft thump. My heart lurched. The house's silence now a scream. I glanced at the staircase, then at him. His face had changed. His eyes locked on me, cold and unreadable. "Everything okay?" he asked, his voice flat, like he was reading a script. I nodded, my throat tight, and forced myself to walk downstairs, showing him out. I closed the door, locking it, and pressed against the window, watching his truck pull away, its taillights fading into the night. He's gone. But why do I feel watched? The house was too still, the air heavy with something I couldn't name. Later that night, unable to sleep, I wandered downstairs, my flashlight sweeping the rooms. A streak on the wall near a closet caught my eye, smudged like someone had brushed against it. I froze, my pulse hammering. I opened the closet door, the hinges silent, and saw faint shoe prints on the floor. Fresh, not mine. Someone was in here. The truth hit like a blow. There'd been another person in my house. They'd broken in before I got home, one hiding in the closet while the other played the buyer. The shuffle, the thump. That was the second man slipping. Out I called the police, my voice shaking as I explained. They searched, took my description of the man and his truck, but found nothing. No prints, no leads. The men had covered their tracks, leaving only my fear. What did they want? Why my mouse? Stopped using Craigslist, donating what I couldn't sell, avoiding strangers at my door. My house, my fresh start, feels tainted now. I checked the closets, the locks, every night, waiting for another sound, another shadow. Those prints are gone, but they're burned into me, a reminder that safety is a lie. The sun hangs low, painting the sky a bruised orange as I drive down a dusty road, my old pickup rattling with every bump. I'm hunting for a deal, a treadmill or elliptical to kickstart my fitness goals, and Craigslist is my go-to for bargains. My budget's tight, but the listings are gold. Used gear for a fraction of retail. One post catches my eye. A treadmill, barely used, $200, posted by a guy named Mike. His message is quick, confident, promising it's in perfect shape. I arrange to meet him this afternoon. The address, a farmhouse on the edge of town. The drive feels endless. The city fading into fields of dry grass, but there's a thrill in the chase. A hope I'm about to score big. The farmhouse looms ahead, a sagging relic surrounded by overgrown land, no crops, no life. Rusted cars and trucks litter the yard, their tires flat, windows cracked. My stomach twists, but I push it down. It's just a quick deal. I've used Craigslist before, sold a couch, bought a lamp, no issues. But there was that one time, years ago, when a buyer showed up at my apartment, his eyes too sharp, his questions too personal. I cut the deal short, my gut screaming danger. That memory flickers now, a warning I ignore as I park beside a beat-up sedan. Mike's on the porch, a cigarette dangling from his lips, his flannel shirt stained with grease. He's older than I expected, maybe 50, but his handshake is firm, his smile wide. "Come on back," he says, leading me toward a detached garage, the air thick with the scent of oil and decay. The garage is a cave of shadows cluttered with tools and junk, the treadmill set up in the center like a prize. It's plugged in, humming softly, and Mike leans against the wall, urging me to try it. I step on, the belt smooth under my sneakers, and start at a walk. It feels solid, but when I crank the speed, the machine sputters, then dies. Broken. My heart sinks, but before I can speak, a deafening crash splits the air. The garage door slams shut, the metal rattling against the concrete. My pulse spikes, the sound echoing in my chest like a gunshot. Mike shrugs, his voice calm. "Old garage. Does that sometimes." But his eyes don't match his words. Too steady, too cold, like he's watching my every move. Something's wrong. The realization claws at me, my skin prickling under the dim bulb overhead. The garage feels smaller now, the walls closing in, the air stale and heavy. I glance at the door, its rusted frame solid, unyielding. I'm trapped. My mind races, that Craigslist buyer's face flashing again. His smirk, the way he lingered too long. I'd trusted my gut then, and it's screaming now. "It's not working," I say, stepping off the treadmill, my voice tight. "I'll pass." Mike's smile falters, his jaw tightening. He doesn't move, just stares, the silence stretching like a taut wire. "No problem," he says finally, waving me toward the house. "I'll show you out." But his tone is wrong, too flat, too rehearsed. I follow, my boots scuffing the dirt, every instinct urging me to run. The farmhouse is a maze of clutter. The hallway narrow, piled with boxes and broken furniture. The air is sour, like mildew and neglect. The walls yellowed, peeling. Mike walks ahead, his shoulders broad, blocking the path. My heart hammers, the memory of that buyer sharper now. How I'd locked my door after he left, checked the windows for days. Don't trust him. Get out. The command pulses, but the front door is closed just beyond Mike's reach. He stops, turning to face me, his hand resting on the doorknob. "Sorry," he whispers, his voice low, emotionless like a confession. My blood freezes, time slowing as his grip tightens, his body shifting toward me. "Run. Now." I jerk back, but Mike lunges, his hand clamping my arm, his strength terrifying. I scream, twisting free, my shoulder slamming into a stack of boxes. They topple, spilling junk across the floor, and Mike stumbles, cursing. I sprint for the door, my fingers fumbling with the lock, the metal cold and stubborn. It gives, and I burst outside, the cool air a shock against my skin. Mike's footsteps pound behind me, his voice a snarl. But I reach my truck, diving inside. The engine roars, my tires spitting gravel as I peel out, his figure shrinking in the rearview mirror, sprinting toward me but too late. My hands shake, the road blurring through tears, the farmhouse fading into the dusk. I call the police from a gas station, my voice trembling as I recount everything. They search the farmhouse, but Mike's gone, the place empty. The vehicles in the yard are unregistered, one stolen, and the owner, a stranger from another city, had no idea it was being used. Who was he? What did he want? The questions coil around me, relentless. That old Craigslist deal feels like a prelude now, a warning I should have heeded. I'm safe, but the garage door's crash echoes in my dreams, a sound I'll never unhear. I stick to eBay now, but the world feels darker, knowing Mike's still out there, waiting for his next deal to walk into his trap. The old brick building loomed in the heart of downtown, its crumbling facade swallowed by the dusk, windows like empty eyes staring into the night. I stood on the cracked sidewalk, my breath catching, a mix of hope and unease stirring as I clutched the keys to my new apartment. But the way the shadows clung to the walls whispered a warning, a truth I couldn't yet see. I was desperate for a place to live, my budget tight, so Craigslist became my lifeline. The listing for apartment 2B promised affordability and charm, a steal in the city's chaos. I emailed the owner, a man named Carl, and his quick reply felt like fate. I remembered my first rental, a damp basement room, the landlord's odd rules haunting me. I'd left after a month uneasy, but this felt different. We arranged a visit, and 2 days later I climbed the creaking stairs, the air heavy with dust and mildew. Carl greeted me at the door, his smile too wide, his handshake lingering. "Welcome," he said, his voice smooth, almost rehearsed. The IKEA apartment was small but tidy, fresh paint masking the age of the walls. He spoke of renovations, of a bustling building soon to come alive, and I believed him, signing the lease with a flutter of excitement. Why does he seem so eager? The question flickered, a trance of doubt, but I pushed it aside, eager to settle in. I moved in a week later, my boxes dwarfed by the space, the apartment's warmth a stark contrast to the building's grim exterior. For 3 weeks life felt normal, until the silence grew oppressive. Where is everyone? No neighbors passed in the halls, no footsteps echoed through the thin walls, no sounds of promised construction. The building was a tomb, its emptiness gnawing at me. I'm alone here, I realized, the thought looping. My nights restless, the darkness beyond my windows too vast. One morning, rushing to work, I noticed a door ajar. Apartment 2C, its interior cloaked in shadow. I passed it, unease prickling, but when I returned that night it remained open. Is someone there? Curiosity overtook fear and I pushed the door wider. The room reeked of rot, its walls stained, cobwebs draping like curtains. No furniture, no life, just decay. My stomach churned and I fled, the building's silence now a scream in my ears. Driven by dread, I knocked on 2A, the neighboring door. No answer. The handle turned, unlocked, revealing another abandoned room, its floor littered with dust, its air thick with neglect. This isn't right. Panic rose, my breath shallow as I texted Carl. Are the other rooms occupied? No reply came, but 10 minutes later, footsteps echoed below, heavy and deliberate. A knock rattled my door, sharp, insistent. "Hello?" I called, voice trembling. "It's Carl," came the reply, his tone too calm, too close. "Why is he here?" I opened the door, and there he stood, his smile frozen, eyes glinting with something dark. "I saw your text," he said, stepping closer. "Let me show you a room I'm finishing." He gestured across the hall, to 2A, the room I'd just seen. Its decay burned into my mind. My heart raced, legs rooted. "I'm good," I stammered, but he insisted, his voice hardening. "Come on, just a look." "Run." "Lock the door." The command surged, adrenaline flooding my veins. I backed away, slamming the door, twisting the lock as his footsteps pounded closer. "Open it," he shouted, his fist hammering the wood. I pressed against the door, breath ragged, until his steps retreated, fading down the stairs, the building's Front door groaning shut. I packed through the night, hands shaking, every creak a threat. By dawn I fled, my car loaded, the building shrinking in my rear view. I never saw Carl again, never returned to Craigslist. What was that place? The question haunted, a shadow in my mind. Months later, I read of an abandoned downtown building. Its rooms untouched for years, its history a blank. And in my dreams I hear his knock, steady and cruel, echoing through an empty hall, calling me back. The house is dark, but a tremor in the air stops my heart. I am alone, sinking into my couch with a bowl of cereal, when a violent crash splits the night. My front door torn apart in a single blow. Wood splinters scatter, and footsteps storm through my home. Two masked figures loom, their eyes glinting with rage, one gripping a bat, the other a metal tool dripping with threat. I freeze, my breath caught as their voices snarl commands. This isn't a dream, it's a nightmare, and it's happening now, in my own house, with no way out. Living alone in a small townhome was my quiet compromise. Tucked in a modest city, the place was outdated, creaky floors, peeling paint. But it was mine, a sanctuary I could afford. Work kept me late that night, my shift dragging past 8 p.m. I pulled into the shared driveway around 9, my headlights catching the neighbor's front door, wide open, its interior black. They must have forgotten to close it, I thought, smirking, too tired to care. I unlocked my door, the house greeting me with its usual stillness, and headed to the kitchen. I grabbed a box of Frosted Flakes, pouring a bowl as Netflix flickered on the TV, a mindless distraction. The cereal crunched, the show's laughter a faint comfort, but exhaustion tugged at me. I had an early shift tomorrow, so I forced myself toward bed, brushing crumbs from my shirt. My bedroom shared a wall with the neighbor's place, usually silent, but as I settled in, faint thumps echoed through. They're never this loud, I thought, annoyance flaring. I flicked off the light, hoping they'd quiet down, and sank into bed, eyes heavy, the darkness pulling me under. Minutes passed, sleep teasing but not coming, when a sound ripped me awake. A single explosive crash like the world had split. My front door. I bolted upright, heart slamming, and stumbled into the hallway. Wood shards littered the floor, the door hanging open, its frame splintered. Someone's inside. Footsteps thundered through the living room, fast, chaotic, more than one set. I turned to run back to my room, but a voice roared, "Stop!" My blood froze as two men appeared, their faces hidden behind masks, hoodies dark as the night outside. One clutched a baseball bat, its wood scuffed, the other a metal ramming tool. Its edge glinting, panic choked me. They shouted orders, "Get down, don't move." Their voices sharp, overlapping. I dropped to the floor, my knees hitting the cold tiles, my hands raised. "Don't fight. You'll die." One pinned me, his grip crushing, pressing my face to the ground, the floor's grit biting my cheek. The other tore through the house, his footsteps pounding, drawers yanked open, items shoved into a bag. I gasped, my breath ragged, pleading, "Please, take what you want, just let me go." The words spilled out, desperate, but my mind was a blur, fear drowning reason. 2, maybe 3 minutes dragged by, an eternity of terror. The man looting rushed back, his voice urgent, yelling about something outside. The one holding me loosened, his grip sprinting to the window, his shadow jagged in the dim light. I tried to rise, my body trembling, but they turned, rage in their eyes, and shoved me down again. Their fists swung, threats spilling. "Stay down, shut up," before they bolted. Toward the back door, they're running. Sirens wailed close, cutting through the chaos. Flashlights pierced the windows, and voices shouted commands. 4 cops surrounded the house, their presence a sudden shield. The men froze, cornered and surrendered, their weapons clattering to the floor. I stayed down, shaking, as officers cuffed them, their masks still hiding their faces. Later, the police explained, the men had hit my neighbor's townhome first, slipping through that open door I'd seen. The neighbors arriving home spotted the intrusion and called 911, saving me by chance. The men were locals, not masterminds, just thieves chasing quick cash. Just thieves, I repeated, but the words didn't ease the knot in my chest. My door was ruined, my arms bruised, but I was alive. I fixed the door, moved on, but the house isn't mine anymore. Every creak, every shadow feels like them, waiting to break through again. I sleep with a light on, check the locks twice. Haunted by that crash, those eyes. What if the neighbors hadn't come home? The question lingers, a scar that won't fade, reminding me how close I came to losing everything. The night is a heavy blanket, pressing against my skin as I pull into my street. My warehouse shift clinging to me like damp cloth. It's 4 a.m., the world silent except for the low hum of my car's engine, the dashboard clock casting a pale glow. My house, a small brick bungalow, waits under the streetlights, its windows dark, promising rest. I'm bone-tired, my muscles aching from hauling crates all night, my eyes burning with the need for sleep. I park on the curb, the cold air sharp as I trudge to the front door, my keys jingling in the quiet. All I want is my bed to sink into, oblivion until the sun drags me back to life. Inside, the house is still, the air thick with the faint scent of coffee and dust. I kick off my boots, the hardwood cold under my socks, and climb the stairs, each step a small victory. My bedroom is a sanctuary, the bed unmade, the curtains drawn tight. I collapse onto the mattress, the springs sighing under my weight, and sleep claims me almost instantly. But it's a shallow sleep, restless, threaded with fragments of the warehouse, forklifts humming, voices shouting orders. I dream of a coworker, his face half remembered, watching me from the shadows of the loading dock. That image lingers, unsettling, a memory from weeks ago when I caught him staring too long, his eyes unreadable. I'd shrugged it off then, but now it feels like a splinter in my mind. I wake with a start, my heart thudding, the room cloaked in darkness. The clock reads 4:45 a.m., barely an hour since I crashed. Why am I awake? The silence is absolute, but it's wrong, too heavy, like the house is holding its breath. I roll over, my eyes adjusting to the dim glow of streetlights seeping through the curtains, and freeze. My bedroom door is open. A sliver of hallway yawns beyond, a black void where I know I left it closed. I always close it. Habit, instinct, a need for control in this small space I call mine. My pulse quickens, a cold sweat prickling my neck. Did I forget? I try to recall, but the fog of exhaustion clouds my memory. I lie still, listening, the silence now a scream in my ears. Something moves. A faint rustle like fabric brushing wood drifts from the far side of the house. My breath catches, my body rigid. It's nothing, just the house settling. The lie feels hollow, but I cling to it, forcing myself to sit up. The bed creaks, the sound too loud betraying me. I swing my legs over, the floor icy against my feet, and creep to the door. The hallway stretches before me, a tunnel of shadows, the air thick with a faint, unfamiliar scent. Something sour, human. Check it. B. Sure. The command pulses, urging me forward. I step out, my hand brushing the wall, the plaster cool and rough. The second bedroom is just ahead, its door slightly ajar, though I swear I left it shut. I pause, my heart hammering, the rustle coming again, sharper, closer, from inside the room. My mind flashes to that coworker, his stare, the way he'd lingered near my locker, asking questions that felt too personal. Was it him? The thought is irrational, but it roots me, fear weaving through my exhaustion. I nudge the door open. The hinge is silent, revealing a room bare except for a dresser and a bed, their shapes looming in the dark. Nothing moves, but the air feels charged, like a storm about to break. I step inside, my eyes scanning the shadows, and hear it, a soft shuffle deliberate from the closet. Someone's there. My knees buckle, but I force myself to move, backing toward the hall. Then I see him. The closet door swings open, and a man steps out, his silhouette tall and lean. Against the faint light, our eyes meet and my blood turns to ice. I know him. His face is familiar, a ghost from somewhere. Maybe the warehouse, the grocery store, a fleeting glance in a crowd. But I can't place it. His eyes are wide, unblinking, locked on mine. And in that moment, I'm paralyzed, the world narrowing. To his gaze, run, hide. The command snaps me free. I lunge for the second bedroom door, slamming it shut, my fingers fumbling with the lock. His footsteps thunder, a frantic scramble, then a thud as he hits the door. I brace against it, my breath ragged, until I hear him retreat, his steps fading down the stairs, the front door swinging open. I slide to the floor, my phone clutched tight, dialing 911 with trembling hands. The operator's voice is a lifeline, but my eyes stay fixed on the door, expecting him to return. Police arrive, their flashlights sweeping the house, but he's gone. No sign of forced entry. Did I leave the door unlocked? I doubt myself, but the familiarity of his face haunts me. They find nothing stolen, no clues, just my word against. The night. Where did I see him? The question gnaws, a shadow I can't shake. That coworker's stare feels like a warning now, a thread connecting to this moment. I sleep with the lights on now, checking locks twice, but the house feels tainted. Its safety a lie. He was here watching me sleep, and I'll never know why or if he'll come back. The house stood proud on 10 acres of rolling land, its white clapboard glowing under the August moon. A sanctuary carved from dreams. I sat on the back deck, the night air warm, the scent of pine and earth wrapping around me. My brother was inside, his laughter a distant echo, our paradise untouched by the world's chaos. But in the stillness, a shadow stirred, a fracture in the night I couldn't yet see. We'd built this life together, my brother and I, in a rural corner where crime was a stranger. The house was our haven, a 2-car garage, a pole barn, fields, stretching beyond sight. I leaned back, the deck's wooden slats creaking, my mind drifting to simpler days. I remembered us as kids, racing through these fields, his grin wide, promising we'd always have each other. The memory warmed me, but the forest beyond the deck seemed too quiet, its darkness too deep as if holding its breath. I lit a joint, the smoke curling upward, the night's hum lulling me. Why does it feel so still? The question looped. A trance of unease, the stars above dimmer than usual. Inside, the house glowed faintly, my brother's silhouette moving in his room. I exhaled, the world soft and hazy, when a shout shattered the calm. His voice, sharp, desperate. 4 gunshots followed, rapid and deafening, each one a blade through my chest. No, not here. I leapt up, heart pounding, and peered around the deck's corner toward his window. 3 figures, masked and swift, spilled out, their silhouettes stark against the moonlight. One froze, his eyes meeting mine through the mask, a predator caught in the act. Who are you? They turned, vanishing around the house's north wall, their footsteps swallowed by the night. I threw the joint aside, sprinting inside, the kitchen's linoleum cold under my bare feet. The hallway stretched endless, the air thick with dread. I pushed into his room, and time stopped. He's gone. My brother lay on the bed, eyes wide, lifeless, blood pooling across his chest. 3 dark wounds gaping. This isn't real. My knees buckled, the room spinning, his face etched in my mind, forever still. I failed him. The thought looped, a trance of grief as I stumbled forward, hands trembling, touching his face, cold and wrong. Rage surged. Fire in my veins. I staggered to the living room, grabbing my handgun from the safe, its weight a promise of vengeance. Make them pay. The command burned, urging me forward. I flung open the front door, the night air biting, and saw a blue Chevy. Caprice peeling out of the driveway. I fired 3 shots, one wild, one striking a tire, one shattering the rear window. A scream echoed from the car, raw and human. But they sped off, taillights fading into the dark. I hit one. I ran back to my brother, grabbing towels, pressing them to his wounds, my hands slick with blood. I dialed 911, voice breaking, words tumbling as I begged for help. He's already gone. The dispatcher's calm voice felt distant, unreal, as I sat beside him, the towels heavy, useless. Sirens wailed, closer now, and within 15 minutes, the yard blazed with lights. Sheriffs, ambulances, a surreal invasion of our peace. A detective questioned me, his face grim, as I recounted the night, my voice hollow. Why him? The house, once a dream, felt like a cage, its walls closing in. The investigation unfolded over months, peeling back a truth I couldn't fathom. My brother had flirted with a gang member's girlfriend, ignoring threats sent to his phone. The final message from an unknown number read, "I'm coming for you." The leader, driven by rage, had traveled 40 minutes with 2 others to kill him, their masks hiding their intent. One attacker died that night, my bullet finding him in the car. Another was caught the next day, driving the same Chevy, his arrogance undone by a police alert. He faced a death sentence, the county's justice swift. The leader fell a week later, killed in a city shooting, karma's cold hand at work. I faced a fine for reckless firearm use, a gun training class, but no jail. Small mercies in a sea of grief. I didn't care. The house became a ghost, its rooms silent, my brother's door forever closed. I can't stay. For a year, I drifted, through its halls a shadow of myself, each creak a reminder of that night. I packed my life, leaving the land behind, moving 8 hours away to escape the memories. But they follow. The fields, the deck, his blood. They haunt me, vivid and cruel. And in the quiet of my new home, I hear those gunshots, sharp and endless, echoing through a night that never ends. The evening air is soft, but a scream tears it apart, followed by gunshots that shatter my world. I'm on my back deck, the countryside quiet, when 3 masked figures burst from my brother's window, their eyes locking onto me. My joint falls, forgotten as I run inside, only to find him lifeless, blood pooling on his bed. My hands shake, grabbing a gun, firing at their fleeing car, a blue Chevy Caprice screaming down the driveway. This was our dream home, our sanctuary. But in seconds it's a graveyard and I'm left chasing shadows that stole everything. In 2016, my brother and I had carved out a slice of paradise, a small 2-bedroom house on 10 acres of rolling countryside. It was our haven, far from the city's noise, with a 2-car garage, a pole barn, and a back deck where the sunset painted the hills gold. I'd sit there, watching the world slow, feeling untouchable. This was ours, forever, I thought, naive, to how fragile forever could be. The house was simple, square, its deck tucked into the southwest corner, framed by walls that blocked the driveway's view. You couldn't see who was coming unless you leaned over the railing, a detail I never questioned until that night. It was August, the air warm and heavy. I was on the deck, a joint burning between my fingers, the evening's peace wrapping around me. My brother was inside, probably in his room, the hum of his music faint through the walls. Everything was perfect. Then, a shout. His voice, raw with fear, cut through the quiet. 4 gunshots followed, sharp and final, each one a blade in my chest. I dropped the joint, sprinting to the house, my heart pounding. Peering around the corner, I saw them, 3 men masked in their late 30s, climbing out his window into the backyard. One froze, his eyes meeting mine through the mask, startled like I wasn't supposed to be there. They bolted around the north wall toward the front. I tore through the kitchen, the back door slamming behind me, and raced down the hall. His bedroom door was open, the air thick with the coppery scent of blood. No. He lay on the bed, eyes wide, unseeing, 3 bullet holes in his chest, blood soaking the sheets. My knees buckled, my breath gone, but rage surged. I stumbled to the living room, grabbed my handgun and threw open the front door. A blue Chevy Caprice peeled out of the driveway, tires screeching. I fired 3 shots, 1 missed, 1 hit a tire, 1 shattered the back window. A scream echoed from the car, high and pained. I got one, but the car sped off, swallowed by the night. I ran back to my brother, grabbing towels, pressing them to his chest, my hands slick with blood. I dialed 911, my voice breaking as I begged for help, but I knew he was gone. No pulse, no breath, just silence. The dispatcher's voice was a distant hum, my world collapsing. This was a quiet town, untouched by crime for decades, so every sheriff and ambulance in the county arrived in 15 minutes, their lights flashing like a cruel mockery of hope. I choked out the story to a detective, fighting tears, my mind replaying those masked eyes. The investigation stretched 3 months, each day a fog of grief. Police dug through my brother's phone, uncovering death threats. He'd flirted with a gang member's girlfriend in the city, 40 minutes away. The guy had warned him off, but even after my brother backed down, it wasn't enough. The night before, a message came. "I'm coming for you." The gang leader tracked us down, bringing 2 others to kill him. A brutal statement to protect his pride. 40 minutes for vengeance, I thought, stunned by the hatred. Justice came, jagged and incomplete. 1 man, hit by my shot, died in the car. Another was caught the next day driving that same Chevy Caprice, too bold or too stupid to hide. He faced murder charges in our strict county and got the death penalty. The leader died a week later, shot in a city feud. Karma, maybe. I faced court for my shots, risking a neighbor's house, but walked away with a fine and a gun safety class. It didn't matter. Nothing did. For a year, I was a ghost in that house. I never opened his room, its door a wall I couldn't cross. Grief consumed me, stripping away joy, purpose. This was our home, our dream. I packed up, moved 8 hours away, leaving the house behind, though I still own it. I can't go back. The gunshots echo in my dreams, his eyes stare through me. Why him? Why us? I'm healing, living with someone new, but that night scarred me forever, a wound that won't close. The fluorescent lights hum above the empty aisles, their cold glow casting long shadows across the tiled floor. It's 2 a.m., and I'm alone in the supermarket, my apron stained with coffee, my hands numb from restocking shelves. The store is a ghost town this late. its silence broken only by the faint buzz of the freezers and the occasional squeak of my sneakers. I've worked the graveyard shift for months, used to the quiet, the way the world outside seems to vanish. But tonight, the air feels heavier, like it's waiting for something to break. I lean against the counter, my eyes heavy, dreaming of my bed, unaware of the shadow creeping closer. The store is a maze of canned goods and cereal boxes, the overhead speakers silent, no cheery music to fill the void. I'm halfway through my shift, the clock on the wall ticking too slowly, each second a wait. My mind drifts to a night last winter, when a coworker swore he saw someone in the store after closing, a figure darting between aisles. We laughed it off, blamed it on fatigue, but I'd caught him checking the locks twice before leaving. That memory nags at me now, a faint unease I can't shake. I grab a broom, sweeping to stay awake, the bristles scraping against the floor, a rhythm to drown out the quiet. Then I see him. A man appears at the far end of aisle 7, his silhouette sharp against the fluorescent glare. He's tall, his jacket loose, his steps slow as he wanders. No basket, no cart. A late customer. The store closes soon, but stragglers aren't uncommon. I call out, my voice echoing, "Need help, sir?" He doesn't answer, just turns down another aisle, his movements deliberate, almost mechanical. My stomach twists, but I brush it off, telling myself he's just browsing. I return to sweeping, but my eyes keep darting to the aisles, expecting him to reappear. The silence grows thicker, the hum of the lights now a pulse in my ears. Check on him. Make sure. The command urges me forward, my grip tightening on the broom. I walk down aisle 7, the shelves looming like sentinels, their contents blurring in the light. He's gone, no sign of him. But the air feels wrong, charged with a scent I can't place, something metallic, sharp. I check the next aisle, then the next, my sneakers squeaking louder now, betraying my presence. The store feels smaller, the shadows deeper, as if the walls are closing in. I reach the back, where the door to the storage room waits, its metal surface cold under my hand. A faint sound drifts from inside, a shuffle, like footsteps on concrete. He's in there. My heart lurches, but I push the door open. The hinges, groaning, revealing a cavern of crates and flickering bulbs. The storage room is a labyrinth, its shelves packed with boxes, the air thick with dust and that metallic tang. My flashlight beam dances across the walls, catching something wet on the floor, a trail of dark red spots, glistening like fresh paint. Blood. My breath catches, the broom slipping from my hand, clattering against the concrete. I follow the trail, my legs unsteady, each step a battle against the urge to run. The spots lead to a stack of crates where a knife lies, its blade stained, half hidden in the shadows. What did he do? My mind flashes to that coworker's story, the figure in the aisles, and I wonder if he'd seen this man, this threat I'm now facing. Run. Now. The command surges, but before I can move, a shadow shifts behind the crates. The man steps out, his jacket open, his hands empty but stained red. His face is pale, his eyes hollow, locked on mine with a hunger that stops my heart. I stumble back, my shoulder hitting a shelf, boxes tumbling, the noise deafening in the quiet. He doesn't speak, just advances, his steps slow, relentless. I sprint for the door, my lungs burning, the storage room a blur of shadows and fear. I burst into the store, slamming the door, my hands fumbling for the lock. His footsteps echo, a steady rhythm, then stop. The silence worse than the sound. I run to the front, grabbing my phone, dialing 911 with trembling fingers. The operator's voice is calm, but mine shakes, words tumbling out as I barricade myself behind the counter. Police arrive, their flashlights sweeping the aisles, but the man's gone. The storage room empty except for the blood and knife. They take my statement, collect evidence, but find no trace of him. No cameras catching his face. Who was he? What did he want? The questions haunt me, weaving through my sleepless nights. That co-worker's story feels real now, a warning I ignored. I quit the job, but the supermarket's silence follows me, a reminder of the customer who came too late and never truly left.